anything that you're interested in, there's a good chance that tons of other people in the world are interested in it too. And when you focus so narrowly on a niche, on the one hand, yes, you're closing off other potential avenues, but at the same time, you're getting such a dedicated fan base for that that it becomes successful in its own way.
Well, hello, YouTube Power Hour Squad. Erika here for a brand new interview for you. So this week, I interviewed Kelli Marissa, who has a nail channel. And on this interview, we dive deep into what it means to have a very niche channel and how she's been able to monetize that type of niche audience. If you're new here, my name is Erika Vieira. I am a YouTube strategist and coach, having helped nearly 500 women since 2017 behind the scenes grow on YouTube. And on this channel, I interview well-known content creators where we together pull back the curtain to reveal what it's really like to be successful on YouTube. So if that sounds like your jam, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you do not miss out on any of the episodes that I have coming your way. Enjoy the interview. Mwah.
Yeah, sure. I actually started off being a blogger and I had a website. It was like on Blogspot, and I was doing that for a while. But the way I even started doing that was I was just really obsessed with buying nail polish, and I was in college. My mom was really mad at me because I was spending all of my money on nail polish, and I was like, well, maybe I should just show it off somewhere so that it seems like it's a value for what I'm doing. So that kind of became my thing. And then I started using different social medias to promote. That's like the reason I started YouTube was to promote my blog, because I didn't realize that YouTube was something that could potentially be lucrative. So it's like funny thinking back, because I was like, and make sure you check out my blog at the end of each video. So
You're like, no. How long ago?
Yeah.
When was that? What year was that?
I think that was 2013.
Okay.
So I had the YouTube channel for a while, but I didn't take it seriously for an embarrassingly long time.
So you had it start in 2013, you said.
Yeah, actually, I think I was blogging for a while before I started using YouTube, and then I was like having supplemental tutorials like once a month,
Yeah,
if that.
okay.
I think I actually ended up deleting most of those old videos because I didn't realize that copyright was a thing, and I was just using top 40 music, and it was just getting copyright dinged anyway. So, yeah, I started doing that for a while, but it was just random. I didn't even think anything of it. And you know what's crazy? My first video actually ended up getting like 40,000 views or something, and it didn't even mean anything to me. I was like, I hope all these people go to my blog. And
You didn't even think like, oh, wow, I could maybe grow my YouTube channel.
yeah, no. And I was making like $50 a month off of the blog, and I was like, one day I'm going to make $100 a month and it's going to be worth it.
Buy
And
more nail
it
polish.
occurred to me. And this was before the requirements for making money on YouTube. So I was already getting AdSense from them, and it still didn't occur to me for so long. It's very embarrassing.
Oh, no, I mean, it's fine. Let's share that story. So at what point did you actually start taking YouTube seriously?
I feel like that's a tough question, because at one point I was like, I want my face to be in the videos because I want to have like a more personal connection with people. But it's still, so I think that was in 2015. I started actually showing my face and being like, this is my favorite, nail polish product. So I was doing that for a little while, but I still didn't take it seriously until probably, actually, I think it might have been when I had a viral video. And then I actually made money from it, like actual money. And I was like, oh, I didn't even realize that this should be something that I'm focusing on. And then I slowly made my way off of the blog and made YouTube my main thing.
When was that?
I think that was in, either, I think it was late 2016 actually. So it was a good 2 to 3 years before I was like, okay, this is an option. And what's even crazier? I actually didn't have a schedule for uploading until 2019, I think. So this has been a very slow burn for me. I'm just taking my time realizing the importance of so many things.
Yeah. Well, that's great. So 2016, you had a video go viral. Which video was that one?
So that was a video on how to correctly apply glitter nail polish.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of just applying it with a brush, I told people you could do it with a sponge. It was a super quick video. I think it ended up being like 3 minutes long. And as of now, I think it has over 8 million views. So it kind of exploded. I remember I woke up one morning and my boyfriend at the time told me that it was on Yahoo, on the front page of Yahoo. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And then I went on and I realized that a bunch of outlets had posted about it. And then they were like, blogger Kelli Marissa, XYZ. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I didn't even realize that this was a thing. And then I started gaining so many followers just from that video. I think that's when I hit 100,000. And it's crazy to think about, like, even when I was growing up to that point, I had at least, 50,000 followers by then on YouTube. And I was still thinking, like, oh, this is going to be great traffic for
My
my
blog.
blog. Yeah. And I wasn't even doing like sponsorships on there. I just had like the little sidebar ad.
Yeah.
And I was like, yep, 2 cents per person. This is going to be great. So, yeah.
So then, did that bring traffic to your blog?
It didn't. It actually never ended up bringing traffic to the blog, which is so embarrassing. I put so much effort into it. I remember like one night I was staying up all night and I was like, I'm going to pull an all-nighter and I'm going to design my blog. And I put way too much effort into that. And, I realize now the value of having a blog in addition to a YouTube, and I would really like to go back to it. But I think I really spent too much time focusing on that instead of like spreading myself over all the social media channels because, my Instagram was huge by then. I had hundreds of thousands of followers on there and I was still saying like, come check out my blog, come check out my blog, like thinking that that was the only way that it could actually become a profession.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
So even though you were growing on Instagram, you're growing on YouTube, you were still stuck on this idea that your blog is what was actually going to, like you said, be your profession.
Thing. Yep, yep. And I think it was really just because it took me so long to notice. And I don't even know when it became like common knowledge that YouTubers made money. But for me, I didn't even realize it for so long, even when the money was coming in. Because, when you do it with Google AdSense, the same money that's coming from the blog is also coming from YouTube. So it was combined. So it would be like, oh, you made 50 cents from your blog and you made $500 from your YouTube.
Yeah.
And I would be like, oh, that's great. More blog traffic for me.
Oh my God, that's so funny. So when was it that, so it sounds like you're no longer doing your blog.
No.
So when did you stop? When did you have that realization? Be like, you know what? Actually, this blog thing really isn't doing anything for me.
Yeah, so I think that was like 2016. And then every once in a while, I would do an update and be like, hey guys, I'm on YouTube now, just in case you're wondering, because I was still getting like messages and comments. And I didn't even have a big following on there. I mean, compared to the YouTube, which had 100,000, and the Instagram, which had a couple 100,000, I had 2,000 followers on the blog. And even though, that felt more personal to me because I was writing, these long paragraphs and stuff. And that's why it felt to me so much like I have the personal connection with these people. So I gotta stick with these people. But yeah, around probably end of 2016, I was like, okay, I'm done with this. I need to actually put my efforts into a YouTube channel and actually try to do a good job with this.
Got it. Yeah,
So
and it is difficult to get people from one platform to the next.
it really is. And what's crazy is I have a lot more Instagram followers now than I do on YouTube. And now I'm stuck in the same cycle where I'm like, check out my YouTube, check out my YouTube.
Yeah.
But, it is hard to get people to jump platforms because there are some people who are really only on Instagram. There are some people who are only on TikTok or only on YouTube. So it's hard to get that cross promotion. But the best thing you can do is, spread yourself over all of the platforms that you can and then get those different audiences for each platform. And that I found is finally the way that I've realized my own success is to just have, those different platforms and do somewhat different things on there just to keep people interested.
Yeah. How many followers do you have on Instagram?
I think it's over 300,000. I think it's like 340. I don't use Instagram as often as I should, just because ever since that algorithm change, I feel like it's been so much harder. So I probably spend like 90% of my efforts on YouTube now, just because that's where I realize the actual connections are.
Yeah.
On Instagram, I have all these people who are liking all of my photos, but on YouTube, I have people who are getting comments and being like, "Oh, I like, this thing, and I remember in the last video you said this." So
Yeah.
it's the personal
I do
stuff.
believe that YouTube has the best connections of any social platform anywhere. And
Hmm.
I've spoken with many different brand owners, and they tell me that they place higher value and see higher conversions on YouTube. Like they believe that the
Yeah.
relationships on YouTube and like a follower on YouTube is stronger than a follower on Instagram. That's what I've heard, and I believe
Absolutely. Oh
that.
yeah, I agree with that completely. I mean, I see, sponsored content that I do on Instagram versus sponsored content that I do on YouTube. It's such a huge difference, like people on YouTube are more personally invested in what you have to say and they trust your judgment more because, you're talking with a friend. So you kind of have that personal connection with them. And, I even remember I answer almost all of my comments on YouTube still, which is another thing that's probably a little crazy, but I recognize the names and I'll be like, oh, like I remember you said you didn't like this type of polish, but maybe in the next video, like I know you're gonna like, XYZ or whatever. So it's just interesting to see those personal connections where I don't really know a lot of the people on Instagram because it's hard also when you're stuck in the algorithm because you're only getting the same people every time and it's only a few of them, which is hard. So.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a question that I do have for you, and it's how do you, because you have such a niche topic on your channel, nails and nail polish, and I know that for
Mhm.
some people they feel like, how do you create that personal connection with your audience when you are talking about something just so niche? You're not doing vlogs of your life. You're not doing, day in the
Mhm.
life, things like that. Maybe you have done, I don't know. But, from when I checked out your channel, it's very niche.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of nails. So how
Very
do you
focused. Yeah,
maintain
yeah.
that relationship with your viewers?
So, that was actually something when I first started taking it seriously. A lot of people were telling me, like, you're too niche, you're not going to find success. And I feel like it's so interesting to see, like, okay, it's probable that I'm not going to be like skyrocketing up into YouTube fame, but you're kind of creating this niche. And there are so many people who are interested. I mean, anything that you're interested in, there's a good chance that tons of other people in the world are interested in it too. And when you focus so narrowly on a niche, on the one hand, yes, you're closing off other potential avenues, but at the same time, you're getting such a dedicated fan base for that it becomes successful in its own way. So, I mean, my growth is on a slower track than people who have more varied content, but at the same time, my viewers, I would say, are a lot more dedicated. So, I mean, I have a Patreon as well. So I have a lot of the super fans in there. And those are the people, I mean, they're all extremely obsessed with nail polish as much as me. And these people have collections like I do. And I never thought that there were so many people who were that interested in nail polish, but it's just, I mean, that's the niche. That's what people are interested in. That's what they're searching for. I have done like a few videos outside of that. Like I've done a little bit of content outside of that, but it doesn't perform as well on the channel, obviously, because people are there for the nails. But I have started a vlog channel where it's just like a little bit more personal. It's small right now because, especially now with the pandemic, there's
Yeah,
not really much to vlog about.
yeah.
But yeah, that's actually on a slow traction as well. But that's where I'm kind of showcasing more stuff besides that. But that's only the super fans who are into nail polish who are also into knowing me a little bit more personally. So it's hard.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting thing that you said. You said, it's a slower grow because it is so niche.
Mhm.
However, the fan base is super, super loyal.
Yep, that's exactly it. Because, you're getting these people who are living and breathing the same thing as you. And it's so hard to find other people who share, very specific passions like that. And that's, I think, why a lot of people go to YouTube because they're like, oh, can I find somebody who's as interested in this random thing as me? So you're kind of fostering a community with that, where, my fans are chatting with each other in the comments and saying, like, oh, I bought that one too and I love it. Like, I've paired it with this color, or, I've done this type of nail art with it. And, that's what I see on other social medias as well as all of those people, engaging with each other because of the videos that I've done. So yeah, it's a very dedicated, group of people who are interested. And I know it's not going to be like spanning worldwide. Everybody in the world is interested in nail polish and specifically collecting thousands of bottles like I do. But, it's
There's
still,
enough
it's
of them
good
out
for those
there.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. It's enough out there to be successful in that niche. And I think
Yeah.
that could be said about any niche really, because some of the things I watch are so niche, but then it's like, well, I see that this person has hundreds of thousands of people who feel the same way as I do. There's 8 billion people in the world, so there's bound to be somebody else.
Yeah, and it builds that community around like that
Exactly.
central interest.
Yeah, and that was actually something that I found a lot more that happened when I showed my face. I know I was just saying that, that was when I decided like I'm gonna try on YouTube, but it wasn't really when I started taking it seriously. But before that, I was posting so many tutorials. I wasn't even doing voiceovers or anything. I was just posting like random videos of my nails. And at that point, I didn't really have that community sense because I was just kind of a disembodied hand. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that makes it difficult. And I see that a lot, especially in the beauty community. Like, I just see tutorials where there's not that much personality behind it. And, even though I am just reviewing nail polish, like these people are getting to know me personally through my interest in that. And one thing that I actually do at the end of every single video is I share a fun fact about myself. So these people who stayed at the end of the video, which that's another thing that's kind of helped me get people all the way to the end of the video is, they're learning more about me. So people get to foster an even bigger connection with me because they're learning about me a little bit more. So that's helped a lot in terms of having my face in content.
That's interesting. So, do you announce that at the end of the video there's going to be a fun fact, or is it just kind of like this Easter egg thing, like a little surprise that your
Yeah,
loyal
it's
people
almost like
know?
a yeah, it's like a little secret kind of.
Yeah.
And it's something that every once in a while I'll say like, "Oh, by the way, I share a fun fact at the end of every video," but sometimes I'll have people who watch me for the reviews and they're, casual viewers, and then one time they'll leave it running to the end and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know that you do the fun facts. I've got to go back and rewatch all of these
Oh,
videos
you're like,
now
oh,
so I
wow,
can learn
okay.
about you." Yeah. Like that's fine.
Yeah. That's
So
awesome.
yeah, it's kind of like a fun little thing. And I sometimes see other people comment and they're like, "Why are you talking about tomatoes?" And they're like, "Did you watch to the end? Because Kelly had a fun fact about how
Ah,
much she loves tomatoes," or something like that. So
yeah.
it's like other people kind of teaching about this little fun secret too. So
How long have you been doing that for?
that has been probably since when I stopped blogging. So probably like around 2017 where I was like, okay, I'm going to start inserting a little bit more of my personality into these videos just so that, people get to know me a little bit better and then there's something to talk about back and forth because there's only so many times you can say like, "Oh, that polish is pretty," or like, "Oh, that nail art is nice." Because then you kind of get repetitive in the comments and then people don't really want to comment or engage as much anymore because they've said it in every single video. So at that point it's like, okay, well, I have something new to tell you so you can engage with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, yeah, exactly like you said. That's interesting. Like with nail polish, after a while, you're like, okay, it's kind of I mean, obviously people are obsessed with nail polish, they're obsessed with new collections
Yeah.
and new colors, and that's how you're continuing to do new content. But to maintain that relationship or to have something else to mention or another
Yeah.
connection, I think that's really smart.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny to see because the people that I recognize the most in my comments, more often than not, they're talking about the fun fact and not necessarily the nail polish. But I mean, I still get a lot of people obviously who are interested enough in the nail polish that I keep doing it. But, and there are some channels that I watch too. Like, I make up tutorials and it's like I don't even comment sometimes because I'm like, what do I say? Nice eyeshadow today. Like I say it every single time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
So,
that's a really good point. Let's go back a little bit to your
yeah.
Patreon. So let's talk about how that came about and when you created that, what you're doing with it, and how's that going for you?
That's actually something extremely new. I just started that last month. And I wasn't sure. I was actually really nervous. I was not sure how successful it was going to be. One reason being, like I said, it's kind of hard to get people to jump platforms. And originally I was thinking about, those YouTube memberships. They're something that I see people do, but on the one hand, I feel like it doesn't get that good of a reception overall. I think the perception of that from audiences is relatively negative. I mean, I have seen that successful in some cases, but I was worried about what that might be. And I actually tested out doing that for a couple of months, a couple of years ago, back in 2018, and I noticed that my subscriber growth was dropping because a lot of people were commenting like, "Oh, how do I watch your
They
videos
felt
without
left out.
paying?"
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it was, they were getting a little stressed out. And then the join button is in front of the subscribe button. So people think that that's the subscribe button. And then they think they have to pay to subscribe to your channel.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? We'll try to do something totally
Too
separate.
complicated.
So yeah, exactly. So this past month, I did the Patreon and I tried to do just a soft launch to see how that would go. So I mentioned it on my other social media channels, my smaller ones. And then that's kind of where you get the most dedicated fans because they're the ones who want to follow you on everything. And I found it was actually surprisingly successful just on those smaller channels. So I did an announcement. And that was another thing. I didn't want to start off a video by saying it.
Yeah.
So I knew that the people who watch to the end are probably the more likely people to even join. So instead of a fun fact, I was like, okay, I have, an exciting fun fact for you. I started a Patreon and it grew from there. So it's actually been really successful. And one of the main things, like one of the big draws about it, I mean, obviously I have like behind the scenes perks and like you get to see my new hair colors before I reveal them to the channel because I dye my hair every couple of months. But the main draw of that is I have a Patreon exclusive Facebook group. And that's like the big thing where people, and it's crazy to see my fans becoming friends with each other through that group. I mean, I'm very active in it as well, but there's so many posts, people, speculating about new collections, talking about collabs, and not just with me, but, other nail artists, people who are doing this kind of thing. And then, these people are sharing their manicures, they're sharing other interests outside of nails and being like, does anybody else really like, stationery? Because I just bought all this stuff. And then other people are commenting like, yes, I'm a stationery nerd too. So it's cool to see that community forming through the Patreon. So, that's just another way, again, to get that really dedicated community because these people are not only invested in me now, but they're also invested in each other. So they kind of want to, be the one to watch the video so that they can talk about it in the Facebook group and, get excited about the new collection, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's great. How many patrons do you
Patrons,
have?
yeah.
Yeah.
That took me a while to figure out, but yeah, it's patrons. So right now I have 95.
Yeah, and that's
So,
after just a month of doing it.
yeah, yeah, and I'm really excited. And the cool thing is I try my best not to shove it down anybody's throats, if it's something, because for me it's really less about like, oh, I want to make money for you and more about like, again, I just want to kind of foster this like fun community of people who love nail polish as much as I do. So, seeing people kind of just joining of their own accord is really fun. Because like when you get a
Yeah.
new person, it's because they're just as excited as you are about those subjects that you're talking about.
Yeah. So people that join, do you have different levels or is it just one?
Yeah. So I have three different levels. So the first level is just behind the scenes and you get early access to some of my videos. The second level, that's where you join the Facebook group. So that's where the majority of my patrons are, which I actually thought that was interesting too, because I thought the majority of people would just want, behind the scenes stuff and be like, okay, I'll give you a couple dollars a month and just to support you, but I don't want to do anything too crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, the majority of people are in that second tier. And then the third tier, I do have a good amount of people in there too, which is interesting. So they can join the Facebook group, but then they also we've been doing these after parties. So when the quarantine started, obviously, and now I'm home all the time. So I've been doing more live content. So after I do the live videos, I do another like after party, kind of like the green room type of thing with
Yeah.
them, where we're like kind of gossiping about what happened
Yeah. Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
like it's like a more casual atmosphere. So it's less like polished, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak, and more just like hanging out with, the VIPs after.
Yeah, that's
So
really,
it's
really cool. I mean, and that it works really well when you have a really loyal audience like that. The people, like you
yeah.
said, staying at till the end. They like the fun facts. They subscribe to your vlog channel. So,
Yeah, and I think one of the things that made me nervous about it is a lot of times with Patreon, I see that the access that you get is to
mm-hmm,
exclusive content. And
mm-hmm.
for me, I film 3 videos per week. So I post on Tuesday, Friday, Sunday. So I was like, I cannot
There's a lot of
do
content already.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can't do a fourth video just for patrons. So what can I offer them? And
Mm-hmm.
the idea, because I was thinking like, man, all these people love commenting to each other. And I've actually seen, 'cause when you have like a website or when you have an email account, it gets caught in spam. And sometimes I go through the spam to delete it. And I see so many times that people are like, oh, email me a picture of your manicure. Like, here's my email
Mm.
and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, it would be a really cool idea to get these people in the same virtual room together so that
Yeah.
they can hang out. So, people can connect with more than just me.
Yeah, I think that's great. And Facebook groups are really, really good for that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know. I know several
been
different
so
YouTube
fun.
people. Yeah, that have Facebook
Yeah,
groups, or
I'm in
they'll.
your Facebook group actually.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I knew exactly the kind of value that was in that because it's fun to,
Mm-hmm.
connect with other people who have a similar interest and, see people giving advice and being able to share advice when you can and that kind of stuff. So it really does have a lot of value.
Yeah,
And a
I
lot of
love
people
Facebook
were,
groups.
joking that Facebook is dead because it's only like, older people who are on it. But I'm like, no, I have a lot of, people, college age people who are in this Facebook group with me and they're just as active.
I think the
Facebook is definitely
value, yeah, I think the value, to me personally, the value of Facebook are the groups, 100%. Like I'm in Facebook and it's really, I'm only in groups. I don't
same.
really do like post things on my wall or things like that. It's the groups.
I'm exactly the same. Yeah, I don't remember the last time I posted on my own Facebook, but
Yeah,
I am in so many
me
groups
too.
where it's like, I've got the journaling group, I've got the stationery group, I have my own group where we're talking about nail polish, and then I'm not the only nail polish group out there too. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm in other nail polish Facebook groups where, we're talking more about nail polish. And sometimes I'll be like, "Ooh, I had an idea from this other Facebook group. Let's do this like fun challenge or something like that, you
Yeah.
know?"
Yeah,
It's
I love that. And then the last thing I want to talk about before we get into our hot seat round is I like the idea that you mentioned earlier. It's like, being so niche. I can't remember if we talked about it offline or during the interview, but you've had several different brand collaborations, brand deals. How has that come about? And I'm assuming it's specifically with nail polish, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I actually have a couple of collaboration nail polishes that I got to make with companies, and that's been a really amazing experience. One of them in particular was actually a collaboration, my first ever collaboration, which I did in 2017. And that was, just a really fun opportunity. But back then I didn't know as much about the business. More recently, I've done a couple of collaborations with a brand called Starly, and it was like such a fun process. I don't even remember how it happened, but I suddenly started trying their products and I got so excited with them. And I made connections with the brand owner and we were talking a lot, just really connecting over our mutual love of nail polish.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was like, "Do you want to do a collaboration?" And I was like, "Yes, absolutely." So I've had 2 collections with them so far, which has been, and hopefully more coming soon. But it's been so much fun, like just being a part of the actual nail polish making process. And, that's something that hopefully, as the vlog channel grows and I do more of that kind of stuff, I can share more about that process, like maybe after the fact, because I know
Mm-hmm.
people would love to see the actual process. Like you love nail polish so much, but like how does it get made? How does it go from, an idea into being this polish that I'm wearing on my nails right now? So that's been a super fun process. And I actually also have a collaboration that's like a nail art product. So for people who are interested, there's a type of nail art called stamping, where you're stamping like a rubber stamper
Mm-hmm.
with nail art designs on it. So I have a collaboration with that too, which has been also really fun, just because you get to see people actually creating nail art with a product that came out of your brain.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's cool. And it's,
Yeah.
I always say, like, being so niche, it just makes it easier for brands to work with you.
Exactly. So yeah, I briefly had I was with a network for a little while, and they were really pushing for me to go beyond nail polish, and they were like, get into lifestyle, do all this stuff because then you can get sponsors. And I was like, that's not necessarily what I care about. For me, it's more about like just having the nail polish and then being able to work with those nail polish brands that I love so much. So that's also been really cool. I don't feel like I need to compromise who I am or what my interests are in order to work with brands because now I'm just working with my absolute favorite brands. So yeah, it's just I'm almost like I wanted to be successful in defiance of that, like
Mm-hmm.
saying like you're too niche, you're not going to be successful. And then I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. That's awesome. All right, so we're at the end of the interview, and this is where we do the hot seat round. And so this is the questions that I ask everybody that's come on the show. So the first question is, what is the number one struggle that you have with your YouTube channel?
I would say probably technology. I am not tech savvy at all. And that's something that I thought was going to be a bigger struggle with, being on YouTube. But it's surprisingly not, it doesn't hinder you as much as you think it would. So if anybody's out there thinking like, oh, I need to have the best technology, I need to do exactly what these famous YouTubers are doing, you really don't. Like if you have a good enough setup. Even you don't even have to have lighting. If you're just in natural light, you're doing a good job. I mean, that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was kind of realizing that I'm still terrible in terms of tech savviness. Like when I go live, the first 10 minutes are always like me being like, okay, is my microphone on? Is my camera on? I have no idea what I'm doing here. And people being like, can you get an assistant or something, please? But yeah, it's not been as much of a hindrance as I thought it would be, but that's probably the biggest struggle for me.
Yeah, we offline before the interview, Kelly and I bonded over our non-tech savvy
Yeah.
abilities.
Between
Uh,
the two of us, I'm very impressed that we managed to make it happen.
I'm like, okay, the microphone working? Is it not working? It's not plugged in? Yeah, I
I was
mean,
like, "Can you see me?
yeah,
Is
I
everything good here? I
I
have no
know.
idea. This is a USB. I don't even know what this does." Like, oh,
Yeah.
it's just a
Oh,
struggle.
you and me both. The tech side of things, I'm like, oh my God. But I mean,
It's
you kind
terrifying.
of have to be just barely competent enough. And then once you get, you like,
Mhm.
you're like, okay, I know my own tech equipment. It's like, you don't even want to upgrade
Exactly.
because you don't want to have to figure out a new piece of
Yes.
equipment.
That's been another struggle of mine, like the fear of upgrading because I'm like, well, then I have to spend all this time figuring out how to do it because I
Mm-hmm.
have no idea. Like, oh my gosh, everyone's telling me to start using Premiere Pro.
Yeah.
I use Final Cut Pro to
Mm-hmm.
edit, which thankfully is something
Final Cut is
I
good.
learned,
Yeah.
a while ago. Yeah, yeah, that's relatively professional. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
everyone's like, you should just be doing Premiere Pro. And I'm like, no way, that would take me years.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would be way too hard.
I
I mean, I
know.
know eventually I should probably do it, but you know
Even
what?
me,
Final
like,
Cut Pro is cheaper.
yeah, it's like yeah. I mean, like
It's
I
scary.
know, iMovie. I'm like, I thought of even going to Final, even though I know Final Cut's really good. But I'm like, oh, I know iMovie and I know this
They
camera.
actually changed Final Cut to be more like iMovie, so it's a lot more
Mm.
user friendly now. That's
Oh,
another thing. If anybody else is scared of going to Final Cut, it is easy. It's very intuitive. And
that's
I think
good.
that that can be said about a lot of Apple programs because they just
Yes.
tend to be like, easy for any level of person. So that's why I'm staying with my Final Cut.
That's why I stay with Apple too. Even like for myself, everything's just a little easier to
Same.
use. Yeah,
Oh my gosh, it's so expensive, but I'm
I
like, I know
know.
that if I if I have a PC, I'm gonna have no idea what to even do with it. I'm like terrified of
I
PCs.
know. I know. You and me both. What is a favorite video that you've done on your channel?
You know what? I think that's a tough question because I feel like each video, even though I produce so many, they're all like my baby. And by
Mm-hmm.
the time you watch them so much and you edit them so much, you're like, oh, this video is gonna be the best one. But probably the first video, I started a series on my channel that I think is the reason that I have such a dedicated fan base, and it's called Nail Polish 101, and that's kind of where I do the absolute basics, like how do you clean your nails, how do you make your nails dry, and that was where it was inspired by the viral video that's like, how do you correctly apply glitter?
Mm-hmm.
So, all of the absolute basics that people are scared to ask that's the series that I do. So the first video in that series was, obviously very successful because that's what a lot of people are going to YouTube for. They want to learn how to do stuff. So, I mean, really any video in that series, and that's something that I've been doing ongoing since 2017,
Mm-hmm.
just, sharing the absolute basics, like what's the difference between base coat and top coat, like that kind of
Mm.
stuff. That's actually, I didn't make that one yet, but
Oh,
no spoilers.
okay. Maybe
That
by the
kind of
time
stuff.
this interview's up, it'll be up. So, um,
Yeah, hope.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so oh, we already talked about it. What your highest viewed video was your glitter one.
Yeah.
And that has how many views
Mhm.
now at this point? Is it 6
I
million?
think it's 8
8
million.
million. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So it's been, and what's crazy is a lot of people, tell me like, oh, you're so lucky that you got a jump start from going viral. And that's something I actually really wanted to talk to you about,
Yeah.
because so many people get eager about going viral and having that one video that skyrockets their success. But that actually really didn't attribute to my long-term success at all. Yes, I'm more favored in the algorithm because of that, but that's not where I get my fans from. The majority of the people who are commenting on my videos, like, they're saying, oh, I found you from this Nail Polish 101 video. I found you because I was looking up the latest OPI collection. So, people are watching that video, but it's not converting into subscribers. So,
Mm,
it's really less about the viral content, in my opinion, than it is about, the long-term stuff that's going to help people in the future.
yeah.
And that's where I would say the majority of my successes come from, those videos where people are like, I need to learn how to make my nail polish dry because
Mm-hmm.
I get the sheet marks every time I go to bed, that kind of stuff. So then they go to
I do
YouTube, they
too.
find, yeah,
I get those sheet marks every time. I need to watch that
yeah,
video.
watch the nail polish 101 videos.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So, it was a great opportunity for me, and it was really cool, but that wasn't really where I came from. So it was just something I figured was
Yeah.
important to let people know. Cause don't let this, sadness about like, oh, like I really thought that this was going to go viral, and, I would be successful if I had this viral video, or if I could come up with something that made me, like go on the map. But that's really not where long-term YouTube success comes from.
Yeah. It's that
So,
relationship with your viewers.
exactly, exactly.
But just out of curiosity, I don't know if you know this offhand. Do you know how much income or AdSense that you got from that one viral video?
It's the terrible thing is, at the time it didn't even occur to me, but it's like a 2 or 3 minute video.
Mm-hmm.
And, the longer videos are the ones that really make more money. I don't think it ended up being as much as a viral video that had, 10 minutes of content. I don't remember what it was, but I remember that was when I first realized, like, oh, I could make money from this. And I think the first check that came through was for 1,000. But that was for also, views on other videos and the blog that I was making 50 cents a month off of. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, I think it must have been around that. And, that also depends because, a lot of people think like, oh, when your video goes viral, you're making millions of dollars. But when you're a small channel and you have a viral video, especially with all of the factors that were into it. So I was a small channel. I didn't have a high, RPM. I had a 3 minute viral video. People weren't subscribing or, watching other content of mine from that video. So with all those things combined, it really didn't end up being that much.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so
A little
interesting.
disappointing, but
No, it's
it's fine.
interesting because everybody has it's so different for every single person, you know?
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
So
mean, some people have told me that, their viral content is making like, 6 figures. And I'm like, all right, nope, not mine. Mine was definitively 4.
oh,
So.
that's funny. So okay, is there any video that you were particularly excited about that just didn't do well?
Yeah, I would say, what's crazy is the more excited I am about a type of like weird content, the less like excitement it generates with my audience for whatever reason. And then you could just throw a video on and be like, I don't want to do something crazy today, so I'll just do a video on like, my favorite top coats. And then that video gets like so many views. Most recently, I did a video that I thought was going to be so funny of me doing nail art using office supplies. And it was like, it's my lowest viewed video in the last couple of months.
Oh,
But you know what?
really?
I mean, it's fine because it was fun for me to make, and it's always fun to like try new stuff. But I mean, that just goes to show you like how dedicated these people are to actual, nail polish and nail polish supplies and stuff. They're like, office supplies, not interested. So it's interesting to see because like ahead of time, I really should have thought about that. But it was still fun to make. I mean, I try not to regret any of my content because as long as I'm having fun doing it, I feel like it's worth it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would obviously like it to perform well.
Yeah, yeah, of course. But I feel like that happens to everybody, you know.
Oh
Um,
yeah, all the time.
what is the biggest opportunity you got as a result of your YouTube channel?
Let me see. I mean, I've been very fortunate. I do get really cool opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
I've been invited to events before and stuff. But, that's always harder because again, when you are in such a niche, like going to something like Gen Beauty, it's fun, but you're also not really getting the opportunity to connect. Like, OPI and SE aren't there.
Yeah,
It's like, makeup brands, stuff like that. So probably the biggest opportunity I've had would be my nail polish collaborations, just because that was an opportunity for me to actually produce something that's very specific to my audience that my audience is interested in. So that's probably my best stuff that I've done
that's
would be
awesome.
those.
That's awesome. And then,
Yeah.
what is your superpower that you think has led to your success on YouTube?
Um, Probably my professional experience. And that's something that, we didn't actually touch on at all, but I do have a background in marketing.
Hmm.
So I think that has helped me a lot. And, I actually got into marketing because of my social media and because of my blog and stuff, this infamous blog.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so because of that, I started getting into marketing in the professional world where I was generally in the communications, that kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
but doing more marketing stuff made me see on the back end like what's more important. So, even though I'm not tech savvy at all, being able to do that marketing know-how has kind of helped me a lot, and I think that's something that a lot of people would benefit from knowing a little bit better.
Yeah, so much about YouTube is about marketing. I mean,
Exactly, yeah.
if you don't have a good idea on marketing, then it makes it difficult to understand how to basically package your videos to get people to want to
Exactly.
watch them. The title, the
Yep.
thumbnail, the topic, even.
100%. Yeah, and even like the tags and stuff that you're using, like
Mm-hmm.
researching tags that are doing well and that kind of stuff, and making sure that your content aligns with what is of interest right now. But yeah, I mean, I would encourage everybody to learn a little bit more about marketing, even if it's just, you know, taking an online course or something. You don't have
Mm-hmm.
to do a 4-year marketing
Yeah.
program for it, but just learning the basics could go so far. And I think that really has made a difference for me in the success of my channel.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. I mean, for me too, my background is marketing and sales. And it's like,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you have that background, you can really understand what's
Yeah.
going on here.
Yeah, and I remember I watched one of your boot camp, or I guess I shouldn't say watch because I listened to it in
Mm-hmm.
podcast,
Mm-hmm.
but one of your free sessions on that, and
Mm-hmm.
when you were talking about your whole history, I was like, oh, now I get it. Like that's why
Mm-hmm.
you know exactly what to ask and all these things. So it's interesting to see even it translating onto your work here.
Yeah, yeah, no,
So,
definitely. I mean, marketing is huge for everybody. Everybody
yeah.
listening, it's huge. What if you were to start over right now? What would you do differently with your channel?
I would can the blog and I would immediately start making videos. I can't believe I spent so much time, effort, and money. I mean, I was buying like web designers and
Mm,
like doing all this stuff. But yeah, I would try to put my focus quicker, one on YouTube, two on actually marketing and like caring about it and like cultivating that audience sooner because I think for a while I didn't realize the importance of that either.
mm-hmm.
So, having those connections with people, working on the right platforms, making sure that what you're doing is actually reaching an audience, that's super
Huge.
important. And I would have definitely spent a lot more time doing that.
Yeah. Well, better late than never, you know.
Yeah.
And then, what is your number one piece of advice that you would give somebody who is just starting off? Or maybe it's somebody even who's interested in nail polish or nail or your niche. What would be that advice?
Yeah. And that's something that I actually get a lot. And my advice is always just start. I think a lot of people, and I get asked so often, like, what tools are you using, like to film? What camera are you using? I want to have the exact same setup as you. And it's really less about that. And it's more about just starting and putting yourself out there. You don't need top of the line equipment. I don't have top of the line equipment. I mean, my lights are from Staples. So it's like you don't need the top best products ever, and you don't need to have, an incredible microphone, an incredible camera to get started. As long as you're getting started and you're cultivating that audience. I mean, for my niche specifically, if anybody is interested in that, save your money to buy nail polishes, because that's the content. You want to focus really on the content rather than the production value, because as you grow, you can make money to invest in that. And that's where, I got all of my products after I started making content. And then with that money, I was able to buy better, film stuff, better equipment, a better computer, that kind of stuff. So it's really more about the content. Start as soon as you can, and don't waste your money on products you don't know how to use. It's just
Yeah.
another thing that I've made that mistake before. Buying an expensive camera and being like, okay, I don't even know what to do with this thing.
Yeah,
So,
I've heard that too. I've heard somebody else say that, you if you know how to use your phone or whatever it is,
mhm.
sometimes people upgrade and they're not even using it correctly, and it's like they
Yeah.
have worse quality than they did before.
Exactly. I started on my phone, and I didn't even have a good phone. I had the iPhone. What was it where it was like the color on the back? I don't remember even what it was
Yeah,
called. It was like a iPhone C, 4C or something like that.
yeah,
That's what I was filming on. It wasn't even HD video, and that's where I started. And I have so many videos with that. I had a card table that my dad used to eat dinner on in the living room, and I would just be filming. I had my This is so embarrassing, but I'll just say it. But I
yeah.
had my camera, I would tape it with scotch tape to my tampon box so that I could have it hovering over my nails. And that's like my first 50 videos were filmed like that.
Yeah.
So don't get caught up in the quality. That you do not need quality. You just need a tampon box and an iPhone. That's it.
Just need a tampon box and an iPhone. Well, that's the first time here on the podcast. I love that. That's awesome. Well, thank you so, so much for coming on
Yeah.
to the podcast. Where can people find you if they are interested in what you're talking about and want to check you out?
Yeah, sure. I'm Kelli Marissa on everything. It's Kelly with an I. So people get that wrong all the time. But yeah, Kelli Marissa. And you can find me on almost every social media. I even have a Tumblr. I've been
You're
a
everywhere.
Tumblr person too. Yeah, I'm
Awesome.
everywhere.
Just don't look for her blog.
Yeah, don't. Oh my gosh, no. I'm like, I'm a 23-year-old from New Jersey, and I'm a graphic designer. And that's like, I'm like, I need to get the login to that so that I can remove that from the old website.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, that's amazing, Kelly. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you so much for having me. This was super fun.
Bye.
Bye.